You can give a shout out to your grandma at any time.
You know what? I just might.
We're good with that. Okay. And we should be live.
Oh, I don't have a good background. Sorry. I'm on my son's bedroom. It's got
we are live now. Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. Working out Zoom technical details. I think there's, if somebody's on YouTube, if they could just mute because there's a little bit of an echo going on. Is anyone else getting the echo? Okay, we'll mute for now. Perfect. Okay, my name is Beth Gilligan from the Coolidge Corner Theatre. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's Signs on Screen presentation of Born to Be. We are thrilled to have the filmmaker with us, Tania Cypriano. We also have the film subjects, Dr. Jess Ting, Garnet Rubio, and we hope Naomi Vassor. Garnet is known as Devon in the film, and Naomi is known as Kashmir in the film. We're trying to connect Naomi right now, hence the technical difficulties. But for those who haven't yet seen the film, it's absolutely amazing. It is streaming right now at coolidge.org. So if you want to check it out there or at your local art house theater, we have been closed since the middle of March. So anytime you purchase a film through the Coolidge, you are supporting our nonprofit organization. It's definitely been a tough time for the cultural sector, and we're just thrilled to still be able to connect with our audiences and show them great works of cinema like Born to Be. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I just wanted to start with a little bit of background and ask Tania sort of about the origins of the project, kind of how it all came together and came to be.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us here tonight. It's I know where you are, so I know exactly what the theater is because I actually lived very near there for some time. The Born to Be came about back in, 2017, I believe. Is that correct, Jess? I met with both Jess and Michelle Hayashi, the producer, and learned about the center that was just being opened. Michelle Hayashi wanted to see about the possibility of making a documentary on the center. She had just learned about the high rate of suicide attempt in transgender community and wanted to do something that could help the community and also let people know that there was all these new things that were going on with healthcare in the country, including the center in New York that was being opened. And that's how I came about. I have been working documentaries for quite a few years, and I have always been interested in topics that had to do with health and communities and the body, and so the whole thing just combined, and that's how I came. I met the two of them on the same night, and I fell in love right away about what the story was, and saw the importance of the film, and also looking at what we were living in New York at the time. There was a historical moment, because it was the first time in the country that a center like that, a comprehensive center of healthcare to transgender people, was just had just opened, and I thought it was a great opportunity to talk up to show part of that history.
Absolutely. And you're filming in a hospital, in a medical facility. Did you have difficulty with access? How did you work that logistically? Did you have it? Because normally there's a big filmmaking crew, but this seems like just by the nature of what you were, the moments you were capturing, it was maybe a smaller scale operation. And how did you go about arranging all of that?
Well, actually, the reason why when I met Michelle, Jess was also there. Was Jess was introduced as somebody who was going to be able to give us access to the center and introduce us to the director of the hospital and so forth. And And so we, you know, Michelle and I met with the director of the hospital, and that was our entrance into the place. And it took a while for us to get there. It actually took like about a year, like to get all the paperwork done and all the logistic things done and once we were there, we started with pretty much 2 to 3 people inside of those rooms, which would be me and Jeffrey Johnson, our cinematographer, and Michelle Hayashi herself. And a lot of times it would be just, you know, Jeff inside of those rooms because they're super tiny sometimes. And then as we grew, we brought in a sound person. And I believe actually when we met Garnet the first time, that was how it happened. Like, you know, like Jeff and Brad were inside of that room. And so sometimes I would be in there and sometimes I was not. I would just stay outside, but we filmed long enough that we all kind of, and we spoke so much outside of when the camera was rolling that we really were in agreement of what we were looking for. And I made sure that Jeff would get everything that I was looking for on what he was filming. And that's, I mean, how it happened.
That's great. And Garnet, I was just incredibly moved by your story and everyone in the film. And it must have taken just a great, you know, leap of faith and of trust to have a filmmaker say, hey, I want to capture you at, you know, these really vulnerable, you know, in some cases joyful, but in some cases quite vulnerable moments. How did you, can you talk about the decision to sort of be part of this film and you know, what made you feel like it was, and we're so glad that you did agree, but what made you feel like it was the right decision to make?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for that. It was definitely a very long, arduous journey for me and for everyone involved in the film. For sure, it wasn't just something that I just did just because I thought that, you know, like maybe we should just do this. Or I honestly, at first, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what we were doing. I didn't know which path anyone was going in. It was all learning experience for everyone. Everyone was learning as they were going along. And for me, it wasn't until about a year, 2 years into since filming the documentary that I realized how actually emotionally indebted I was to this film. And to answer your question point blank, I did this because it just needs to be seen. It's something that's unspoken. I feel as though a very large portion of what is said about the trans community that is put out in social media is glamorized and overly edited, and it's overly sensationalized. And what I really enjoy about this documentary, Born to Be, is that it shows the raw, vulnerable side that is sometimes not cool, sometimes not okay. It's not pretty and glamorous and gorgeous. It's scary and it's terrifying. And you're really peeking inside of our heads. I had no idea any of this was going to happen over 2 years ago, but I'm so happy that I agreed to be a part of this. And especially because I agreed to show so much of my life, with not only just having my vaginoplasty, my facial feminization, and then with the end of my character arc. It was a lot to really allow these people to come inside of my home and capture these vulnerable, emotional parts of my life. But I wouldn't change a single thing.
Yeah. As I said, I think everybody who's seen the film is so glad that you said yes to Tania. I wanted to you know, bring in Dr. Ting to the discussion, because you also opened your life to the filmmakers. We see you playing music, and we hear a bit of your background. But I'm wondering if you can talk about the background of the Center for Transgender Medicine and Surgery, sort of. How did it come together? And also, you know, there are so many scenes in the film where your schedule, I mean, I sort of, when I heard you could join us tonight, part of me was like, really, he has time? How things are going now, because, you know, staffing, there seems to be incredible need, but staffing and funding seem to be a challenge. So can you give us sort of a history of the center and also just kind of a status update?
The center started when the CEO of the hospital, Ken Davis, and the hospital president, David Rich, decided that Mount Sinai would start this program. And that decision happened because of the law in 2015 that insurance would start covering these procedures. And they wisely anticipated that there would be a huge surge in demand. And there were no hospital programs. There was not a single place in New York City that served this need. And they decided to start the program, and they just asked me. I think they asked a few people, and I said yes. So it's just being in the right place at the right time, purely accidental.
Were you surprised? Because I think you said you were the only one who said yes. Was there opportunity at the time for other doctors to be alongside you, or was it there was?
I think yes, and it was just the right time for me, and I think for a lot of people, it would be very disruptive to careers to make a change like this. I spent a long time training, 4 years of med school, 6 years of residency, and then 15 years of building a practice. And then I basically just gave it up. So.
That's incredible. Yeah. And how is the center today? Are there additional doctors on staff? Because I mean, it's heartbreaking to think. I mean, the wait list scenes are.
Well, don't I look better? I'm like a little more well-rested. I've lost weight. I've had vacations. It's because I have two partners. You remember Bella Avanesi?
I do, yes.
She was pregnant. She's the one who had a baby. She was my fellow. She's now my partner. And there was a fellow who took her job, her training position the year after, John Pang. He's also a partner. So we have a lot more help. The hospital program is up and running. We have 3 ORs, 4 days a week. Our staff has grown to maybe 12 people just in my office, and probably another 10 people across town at the other part of the center. So we have a lot of people, 4 social workers. We have 4 physician assistants, 4 surgeons. So yeah, it's gotten a lot easier for me personally. I think it's been easier for patients to access care. The wait lists are better. Wouldn't you say, Garnet, that our wait lists are better now than they used to be? Things are more organized.
1000%. When I first started with the center, it was very difficult, but now it is seamless, it is quick, it is fast, it is efficient, and all of the staff seems so much happier and so much less stressed. Everyone's just walking around in a cohesive environment. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I basically didn't know what I was doing, and now we look like we know what we're doing. So it's gotten a lot better.
Always reassuring words from a doctor.
Yeah. Where's the operating room? It was always lost.
And do you have a sense of what's happening nationally? Are there more centers that are opening or on the cusp of opening? Do you have the opportunity to mentor doctors in other areas of the country? I know COVID is presumably disrupted some of this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in starting programs, and a lot of interest, and a number of programs have started all over the country. So yes, I would say probably 10 to 15 programs have started up since the movie was released, and some of them are busier than others, but overall we're seeing more and more programs sprouting up.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I'm interested, I'm sorry that we seem to have trouble getting Naomi on, because one of the things I think is striking about the film is Tania, you capture the subjects that you depict. It's a fully multi-generational, and I think the story that Naomi has to tell, and she talks about Paris is burning, and her history in New York, and in Garnet, you're much younger than me. I don't know actually how old you are, but
I'm 25.
That's it. Your experience, and do you see changes in society? Are you hopeful? I know that there was news this past week with Elliot Page coming out.
Yeah.
That's it's been tempered by some other sadder news about violence. But do you feel like there's general a growth in awareness and empathy that is happening, that your generation is experiencing that maybe earlier generations didn't get to experience in the same way?
Absolutely. I feel a whole new wave of love and acceptance. I don't see anything changing completely in the next 5 to 10 years, but we have made so much progress in just the past few years alone. It's been overwhelming, the love for the transgender community that people have been showing. But in comparison to what Naomi went through, and compared to what I go through now, it is just, the generational difference is insane. It's such a vast improvement of acceptance, and I'm so grateful to that the world is changing so quickly.
Yeah, and I think you know, that's captured in the film. And I think, you know, the other great thing about the film, and Tania, you can maybe talk about this and how this came together, because there's the medical story, and you really do delve into sort of the science and, you know, the procedures and what's happening in the history. I think it's Dr. Bowers in the film, you know, she gives sort of a history of the procedures and things like that, but it's also, it's so much a human story, and the subjects and Dr. Ting are really the heart and soul of the film. And was that always, did you have a certain perspective that you wanted to present from the get-go, or did you always plan to kind of, you balance it beautifully? I
think that actually you just said it like perfectly right. I mean, like, you know, like I went to see right in the beginning, and before we started filming, I went to the center here in New York, and I heard Dr. Marcy Bowers speak, and she spoke about the importance of talking about what she was doing, like how she always felt that it was important to talk about these three elements of the history, the science, and the human side. And it really stuck on my head about of having to really follow those three stories within the film, and because in many ways, and that's like, first I just want to say also, because Garnet is here and hopefully now, you know, Naomi is listening, I am so grateful, like, to all of you for the trust that you gave me and gave all of us, you know, to be able to be there and to film in such a delicate, you know, very important time in your lives. But I felt that what would make this film go forward was to be able to show, I mean, of course, I would never be able to show the full diversity of this population. And it's funny because the other day I was just talking to somebody that, you know, because I keep going back and forth between like wanting to speak about the community and the population. And I'm like, you know, when can we start talking about this, like, you know, this community as a population, like to really make people understand that it's larger than a community. But I feel that it was quite important to show, like, yeah, the different generations, people also that came from different backgrounds, people that had the families that supported them, and those that didn't, and people that have, you know, somebody who loves them next to them going through their transitioning, and those that did, that hope that the surgeries would help them find somebody who would love them, who will love them. And also I find that the most important thing for the film, and I hope that people take out of it, is the sense of like how we are all, like, you know, how we all kind of going life wanting the same things and feeling the same things, and that there's not even though we were talking about this one process within a community that not everybody you know, wants to have, like, for example, like, you know, go through surgical transitioning, but that people understand that those who want to go, there's a reason why they're going. Let's respect, even if we don't agree, we need to learn how to respect each other. And especially right now when there's so much polarization and so much hate and so much division going on. And so I hope that the film not only like enlightens people and educates people about this specific issue, but actually it reminds us what it is to be a bigger human, you know? Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, but it does, and it's very well said. And I think I asked Garnet this question earlier, and I meant to ask it to Dr. Ting, but I'm curious, when you were first approached by Tania, did you ever have, because you were relatively new to this field of medicine, did you ever have moments of jitteriness about sort of opening up your life and your practice specifically to a filmmaking team? And what was the experience like of witnessing it all on screen?
Well, I wasn't going to be in it originally. It was Michelle Hayashi. It was her idea. I mean, we were talking one day and she's like, let's make a movie. I think it'll help the community. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's raise some money. We can make a film. We'll find some patients and make it about patients so people can just have a little window into what is going on. And so I wasn't even going to be part of it. And I am kind of very private. So, but Tania and Michelle, after like a couple of weeks, they kind of talked me into it. And the rest is history. And here we are.
Yeah. No, and it's great. And I think, and it's just wonderful to witness it, because you bring such empathy and also such calm to your patient. I don't know if Garnet, you can speak to this, but I feel like you're just this very calm, reassuring presence at a moment in people's lives that's very, in some cases quite fraught. Was that your sense, Garnet?
Absolutely. Dr. Ting has a way with words, and he's definitely very good at soothing you and calming you down. When you walk, I know me personally, I'm a very just all over the place person. I'm always here that I'm here, and Dr. Ting walks in and it's just straight to the point, and it just gets all my questions answered. So
yeah, that's great. And so, in the film, it also talks about, some of the procedures are still relatively new, and I'm wondering, what are the new innovations that are happening, or are you just kind of perfecting the things that the procedures that you're shown doing in the film, or what's
constantly happening? I mean, we never do the same operation the same way twice, so every operation is different, and always looking for ways to improve, both little and big. And I think we're on the cusp of an exciting new era in gender surgery. I'm really excited for what the next 10 years will bring.
And what do you see as sort of the biggest challenges? Because it seems like, I mean, I am clearly not a medical professional, but I would think that there would be a certain amount of excitement among med students, because this is an area where there is constant innovation. It's not like you're doing the same old knee replacement, or in other
there
fields.
Is incredible interest in medical students. There's so much energy in our program, and I get emails from all over the country from medical students who want to come observe us, spend time with us, ultimately who want to go into the field, residents, medical students, college students. Even had high school students want to do internships. So lots of interest in this burgeoning field. A lot of interest in people who want to serve the greater good, and serve a need.
And do you see a lot of growth happening? Are there obstacles with funding, or does it seem to be something that the interest, because there's clearly a need and an appetite for these procedures?
There's clearly a need, and I think the biggest obstacles are ignorance, hate, prejudice, and probably one of the biggest obstacles is going to go away in January.
Yes, indeed. Counting the days.
Took me a minute. I was like, what?
But do you sense that that many hospitals across the country will start, 10 years from now, do you think that there will be a center for transgender medicine and surgery at many hospitals throughout the country, or is it difficult to scale this?
It really depends. I mean, it depends on if you're an optimist or a pessimist. It's very uneven. If you go to places like New York and California, there is a lot of access to care. It's much fairer how healthcare is allocated, especially to underprivileged and needy populations, or populations which are underserved. But if you go to other states, primarily red states, there's huge unmet need. Large swaths of the population are just neglected completely. And
yeah.
I mean, I hope it will get better, but I'm not that optimistic that things will change that quickly.
I mean,
Well, I
Garnet
think,
comes from Texas, right, Garnet? You know the
Yeah,
difference.
from San Antonio.
yeah, and your
It's,
family, I mean, your family seemed incredibly supportive in the film, and I think that was a wonderful thing to witness.
yeah, my mother, my grandmother, my aunt are my closest friends in the world. I couldn't do anything without them. Especially my mother. She was there for me through every surgery, taking care of me, going to my appointments with me, flying me out to Texas to recover with her. She's my biggest supporter, my biggest fan, and my best friend.
Yeah. I think, film, certainly at the Coolidge, we believe in film is an empathy generator and a force for social good. And I think, this film is a perfect example of it. And I think, I hope many people will see it, because I think the urgency and, as you said, the need, I think it does a great job of illustrating that. I don't know if everyone quite grasps like how urgent and life-changing this is for people. And Garnet, I think what you said earlier just really hit the nail on the head, that it's that things are glamorized in the media, and you show the full journey, as do many of the others, Naomi in the film, Mahogany, and I'm probably forgetting some of the names.
Jordan.
Yeah. And do you have, Tania, can you provide an update on sort of well, I don't know, Dr. Ting, if you're able to, with medical oaths, but Tania, can you give an update on how some of the others in the film are doing? I think Mahogany was in recovering from surgery at the end.
Mahogany's actually watching. She just
great.
texted for the link. She's watching on YouTube.
Oh, hi, Mahogany.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, Kashmir is doing awesome. She is just bigger than ever, bigger than life. And Naomi, who was in the film very, very briefly, has just gone on to have a fantastic career in TV. I can't even keep track of what she's doing.
And Garnet. I mean, Garnet is in such a, I'm so happy that she is here tonight, because also for people that, there's so many people when they watch the film, they want to know about Garnet right away. Is she okay? Because of, it was such a hard thing to follow. We were already in the middle of actually more than the middle of editing when the development of Garnet's story happened, and the whole, suicide attempt incident happened, and we went out and we filmed. It was a very, very difficult thing, and I'm very grateful to her family for having supported us and allowed us to be there, me to be there, from during those moments. But I think that it would be wonderful to hear from, I'm sorry, I know I just want people to hear from Garnet about where she is right now, because she's been doing pretty cool things as well.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better. I'm here. That was definitely the most traumatic, difficult anything I have ever endured in my entire life. I remember Dr. Ting's face was the very first face that I ever saw when I woke up after everything happened. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget what he said to me. And it was just, I learned so much through that entire experience, through everything that I endured. And if I had any advice to somebody who's enduring what I was going through towards the end of the documentary, it would be that you're not going to fix everything with surgery, with plastic surgery, and with just advancing your transition, because surgery is not what defines your transition. It's the love that you develop in yourself. It sounds cheesy and typical and just like what everyone says in an after school special, love yourself, but really is true. You're not going to advance at all in life unless you learn to accept and love yourself with or without plastic surgery. I love surgery just as much as the next person, and I love to, you just got to learn to love yourself. Update, I'm doing a lot better. I've been on Bravo's Project Runway. This documentary is coming out. I've just been doing a lot of really fun, amazing projects that I can't wait to come out next year. Of course, everything's been crazy because of COVID, but I'm really excited for everyone to see more of what Garnet Rubio has to offer to the world in 2021.
I think we all second that. That's,
Thank you.
and that's an excellent. You look great, and we're so glad to
Thank
hear
you.
that, that you're doing so well. So that's a great note, I think, to end things on. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. This discussion will remain on our YouTube page, so if you have friends who want to check it out after the fact, steer them to it. And also, again, Born to Be is currently streaming at Coolidge.org. Please watch it. It's a wonderful film. And thank you all.